Hey everyone, welcome back to Strange Minds 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we are going to be getting into part 4 of the Octunnumi by Trevor Allen Forrest. I hope that you guys are enjoying this story so far, and if you are, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. It would mean a lot to me. But right now, let's grab our snack, grab our drink, or sit back, relax, and let's get to it, shall we? Hello, Mikey. Mikey Sherman, small-time criminal with big ambition but short on imagination when it comes to matters of a criminal nature, is also just short. 5 foot nothing, scrawny, with skin that has seen plenty of sun in its 34 years or so, sporting a once smart suit that has seen plenty of wear, stops midway through the fire door. His hands still depressed on the metal bar, he takes a moment to allow his eyes to adjust to the dimly lit service road, catching sight of 2 figures leaning back on the wall either side of him, mirroring each other's stance, arms folded, a leg bent, foot flat to the brickwork, resembling back to front bookends. His lip curls. "Who the hell are you?" he sneers. "Well, I'd like to say I'm your worst nightmare," Trad replies, pushing away from the wall to stand squarely in front of Mikey. "But you see, I've seen your worst nightmare, and let me tell you, that is not it." As he finishes, he is joined by his brother. Mikey looks them up and down. They gotta be 6 foot odd, he thinks to himself. Still, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. "Is that right?" he replies. Then, calling back through the open doorway, "Lads!" 5 men file into the alley and fan out behind Mikey. His smile widens. "Well," he says, allowing the door to swing shut. "Something tells me I'm looking at yours." "Impressive," Trad comments. "Wouldn't you say so, Reg? I mean, these guys, they are quite something, aren't they?" Casually, he walks around the group, who slowly close in on Mikey. "All that tough guy leather." Trad shakes his head as he continues. "Trust me, man, animal skin always looks better on the animal. But I gotta say, those chains, wow, you are really rocking them, and all that pumped up muscle and the cut off tees to show off the tats, am I right?" He directs his question to the one with the most tattoos, who replies with bared teeth and a steely glare. "They sure do look the business," Trad says, coming full circle. "Don't you think, huh, Reg?" "Yep," Reg replies flatly. "Straight out of Thugs R Us catalog." This from the pair in the fancy dress outfits. Mikey laughs as he takes in The long black coats and ornate accessories, fancy shirts, waistcoats, fitted trousers pushed into loose-laced boots. The one with the mouth seems to be wearing some sort of modern hoodie, while the other, he notes, has a weird take on a top hat. I think our friends here are in the wrong area, eh, lads? And I suppose you're a fashion expert, are you, Mikey? Well, now, let's see. Mikey moves towards the two. These outfit of yours, some sort of uniform, I'd say, given the similarity and yet clearly allowing for some individual input. He pauses, turning back to label on Reggie's coat and eyeing the colorful lining, styled, I say. He remarks, drop the label on the late Victorian Gothic model, if I'm not mistaken, with a distinct military flavor. He studies the buttoning and braid work on the deep cuffs. Touching the cloth, he mumbles to himself, quality weave, not seen the like of it for a very long time. He nods approvingly and moves on. Detail lapels. High collars, exaggerated versions of the detachable variety, of course. Waistcoats typically of the era, though this, he gestures to the hoodie with distaste, is an insult to fashion. Let alone this getup. But I do admire the top hat, he says, looking at Reg. Very avant-garde for today's young man. But, really, skinny jeans? He shakes his head. Breeches with this lot, boys. Breeches. He sighs. But I'll lend it to you. The boots are a complimentary finish. I am impressed, lads, he says, nodding. Not often you see such style on today's youth. I am, however, he adds, gesturing the mechanical embellishments at a complete loss as to why you have all the metalwork. All eyes follow Mikey, who have completed his tour around the boys' outfits, returning to his original position. Clocking the astonished expressions, he offers, I studied history. No response. Special in fashion for the family business. Still nothing. Gentlemen's tailors. Trad looks him up and down. Not now, obviously. Mikey adds, strengthening his crumpled shirt front. It's a rough patch, all right? My family was the talk of Savile Row. My father and his father before him. He sniffs loudly. But times change, so he shrugs. But I'm gonna bring it back. I've got plans. You wait and see. This is complete silence. There is complete silence while Mikey pulls a once white hanky from his jacket pocket, and after making a great deal of blowing his nose, he stuffs the cloth back and looks at the boys. Right, well, Trad says, smarting slightly from the hoodie comment, pulling it clear off his head before carrying on. The thing is, Mikey, it appears to us that you and your girlfriends here, he says, glancing at the five, who still staring at Mikey in astonishment, take a moment to respond with a mix of finger flexing and fist clenching, are transporting something I'd say of great importance or value to someone. And no offense, Mikey, but we all know it's not you that's going to require so much protection, now is it? So that leaves the briefcase. Reg moves closer to Mikey. So tell us, Mikey, where have you been? And where are you going? And what's in the briefcase? Tightening his hold on the handle of the case he had hoped had gone unnoticed, Mikey grins. Well now, that's for me to know, innit? And if you and Tinkerbell here want to keep those pretty faces intact, I suggest you back up, and I'll tell the boys here to go easy on you. Tinkerbell? Did he just call me Tinkerbell? He did, Trad. He called you Tinkerbell. Bit harsh. Yeah, poor Tinkerbell. I meant me. Harsh on me. I know what you meant. Oh, I see. So, hold on a minute, Mikey exclaims. It's you, innit? Oh, could I have missed it? So the stories are true. I'd heard the rumors, but I never really... But of course, it is. All the talking, the back chat, the over-the-top outfits. Wow, you actually exist. Turning his head slightly to the men behind him, he continues to mock admiration. Lads, we are in the presence of folklore legend heroes. These two have taken down many criminals. They're not bad. They set their sights on that and they bring 'em down. Been responsible for putting some of the best criminals' minds behind bars, they have. Not that I have a clue how you would know this, Trad says, but still, thank you for the in your dreams, Sonny Jim. Mikey cuts in. So what is this, then? A convention? A gathering of nerds? A superhero fantasy dress party? Mikey laughs, looking over his shoulder for backup. When none of his forthcoming, he clears his throat and adjusts the briefcase nervously. Well, you obviously ain't the real deal, he laughs. I mean, come on. They are stories, just fairy tales. Fairy tales, huh? Trad moves closer to Mikey. Yeah, fairy tales, he replies, edging back slightly. Folklore, myth. The thing with folklore and myth, Mikey, Trad says, leaning over him, is that there is always some truth in there somewhere. You saying all the stories all true? Are you sure they are not? Trad smiles. Okay then, Mikey grins, backing away from Trad. You want a little cosplay? Sure, why not? So, let's say you are the real deal. He clears his throat again. As I understand it, you only take on the big players, and honored as I am, he straightens his shoulder while tugging on his jacket, that you see fit to bother with little old me. I'm afraid this time you ain't getting your man. He faces them both as he edges a little closer to the group of heavies behind him. Now, that's where you're wrong, Mikey. You see, the moment you give the word to matey there, Trad points to the guy on Mikey's right. Yes, you. He's going to reach for that lump of 2x2 right there. Yes, that's the one. Go ahead, pick it up. And then this guy, Trad puts his hand on the shoulder of the thug to Mikey's left, is going to try and rush me. The guy grins proudly. But Trad holds up his hand, Just as he reaches me, I step aside at the exact moment that 2x2 here takes the swing, and guess what? Yup, you, my friend, get it full on. Looking directly at the man whose shoulder he is holding, Trad says, "You lose your front teeth, I'm afraid." Alarmed, the guy touches his mouth. "Yep." Trad nods, "Top and bottom. Oh, and," he continues, releasing his grip, "you bite pretty hard on your tongue. Right at the back there. Takes a chunk out of your inner cheek, too. Now, you bandana dude." Trad looks past Mikey as a bandana-wearing thug. "Who? Me?" mouthed bandana dude silently. "Yes, you. You step up to the plate to help your buddy here, Toothless." Toothless smiles. But, as you do, Toothless thinks it's 2x2 guy and leaps up with that length of pipe. Yes, that one. Thinking he's gonna get 2x2 guy, Toothless here gives his all, which leaves you unconscious on the floor. Now this really annoys T-Man there. Approaching the guy with the cut-off t-shirt, Trad continues. "So, you go to take on Toothless, whereby Stud Guy," the thug with the piercings looks slightly alarmed, "try and stop him by standing in his way, but in his anger he lifts you clean up, sending you head first back into the pile of used nappies." He indicates the back door of an ABC daycare center. "In that skip right there," Trad shakes his head, "snapping your neck in the process." Stud Guy gasps a sharp intake of breath and puts a palm to the back of his neck. "You don't die," Trad says, by the way of reassurance, "but it's not pretty. You know, with the nappies and all." Of course, somehow, Mikey here remains untouched, and in fact, is having a little chuckle at how ridiculous you all look. His thoughts, not mine. It doesn't end there, though. Oh, no. You see, Toothless here never really speaks right after that. 2x2 here feels so bad he pays for all the reconstructive dental bills, which unfortunately bankrupts him. Trad looks solemnly back at 2x2. "Loses everything. The house, the car, everything." Taking a breath, he continues. "Toothless' wife ends up leaving him. Yep. Something about drooling. Probably an account of the fixed brace you have to wear." Trad motions around his own head with both hands to demonstrate, takes the kids with her, and moves in with her new boyfriend, who happens to be you, T-Man. He points to the guy with the cut-off T, who blushes slightly. Our unconscious friend here suffers with blinding headaches, rendering him unfit for work. Ends up on the streets, this one, in fact, searching through this very skip that did for his chum here. Stud Guy gives a small wave, who, by the way, spends the rest of his days in a wheelchair. Bandana Dude is so traumatized he's never seen out in public again. Trad glances at him. "You drown with your sorrows to the point of self-destruction, my man." All the while, Mikey here, who walks away from this without a single scratch, is sunning himself in the coastal dell somewhere. Pausing for the full effect of his words to reach them, Trad stands in front of the group before finally saying, "So you see, lads, what you have to consider is it worth it? The teeth, the pain, the betrayal, and you, Mikey, can you live with the guilt?" All eyes fall on Mikey, who after a short silence laughs nervously. "You mistake me for someone who cares," he replies. I don't give a rat's ass about this lot, and I sure don't see how it's gonna affect me in the slightest. As you say, I'm living the life. This lot here ain't nothing but tired ends. They get paid to do what they are told. It is my fault. Is it my fault that they screwed up? An uneasy quiet follows. Lights in the alley flicker, eyeing Mikey. Toothless gestures to the others to stay put as he steps forward. Flinching, Mikey steps aside as Trad reflexes his fingers ready to fight. Can I just say, the crisp English accent that slices through the silence, more suited to a polo match than a dingy alleyway, surprises everyone except his fellow thugs. Reg and Trad exchange a brief glance, mouthing, "What the?" while Mikey stares open mouth. "That I knew you were real," he continues. I knew it. Toothless approaches Trad, grabbing his hand and shaking it vigorously, while looking back at the others. "Didn't I say they were real? Didn't I? The four nodded simultaneously, lost for words. Toothless turns back to Reg and Trad. "I'm your biggest fan," he smiles. "You're the reason I formed this group." "Oh no. Mr. Regis." "We are?" Stunned, Trad looks at Reg. "Jolly right you are," he smiles. "I said to the chaps here that we would only manage to meet them if we were out in the field," he raves. "Obviously, if we were the bad guys, you'd find us. But really, can you see us as the bad guys?" he asks, smiling. Stop him. Looking over the huge tattoo arm, shaved heads and broken noses that the five hold collectively, Trad replies, yes." "Oh, so funny." He looks back at his friends. "He's so funny." How do you know?" Trad starts to question. "Divert, Mr. Regis, divert." "So your accents," Reg cuts in. "Not what I would expect." "Good, that's good." "Ah, a hangover from our public school days, I'm afraid. It was rather drummed onto us." "How do you—" Trad tries again. "Do something." "Went to school together, you say?" Reg cuts in again. "Oh yes, we all are old school chums." Toothless looks to the other four, who gives a small wave. Continuing, he says, "I have nearly all of your published works, right back to the Penny Dreadful days. Of course, you are in comics now. Well, more graphic novels, really. Mr. Regis, get rid of him before—" "Well, it's been nice to have." Reg tries to steer Toothless back to his friends. "But we really should be. Graphic novels." Trad's ears pick up. "Great." "Oh, yes. I have one in well," he pauses. "That is to say, if it's not too much of an imposition, well, I would be honored if you would consider signing one for me." He points further back in the alley to a beige 7-seater parked between two delivery trucks. "Of course you have." "The people carrier?" Reg asks disbelievingly. "Excellent. Good diversion. Being of Fethris, love. Talking about their cars. Splendid, is she not?" Toothless beams. "She's a state-of-the-art electro-charge model, fantastic for the environment." "Aw, sweet. He thinks he's saving the planet." "And also not expected," Reg comments. "You know, with the whole Piker vibe." "Good, keep him talking." Oh, this. He motions his outfit. Oh dear, my good man. I can barely ride a push bike. He chuckles. No, this is a case of needs must, I'm afraid. It was a case of diversify or die. He pauses, metaphorically speaking, of course. This is but one of the many strings to our bows. We all have bills to pay. Hey, what? He glances at the boys, and there's not much call for aristocrat these days, so he shrugs meekly. Because thug is such an obvious transition. So, you are in the protection racket? Reg inquires. Heavens no, Toothless replies. We are trained bodyguards, he says proudly, among other things. Oh, and can I just clarify? He glances to Trad. The gear, he gestures, their trousers and jackets. Not the leather, not any of it. No. Pineapple. Or is it mushroom? Oh, and pulling back his jacket to reveal his t-shirt, the words "Powered by Planets" stretched across his bulging pecs. He grins proudly as he drops his jacket. Stick to the code. Absolutely, but you know all that, wouldn't you, being fellow conscience and all. So saving the planet after all. Being what now? Still at a complete loss as to what is going on. Omniscient, Reg mutters. The unessental way of life. Mr. Regis, please, you need to get rid of this guy. Oh yes, we have sworn the consciential oath. Protect and preserve, Toothless continues, holding a clenched fist to his chest. Oh, and, he says, licking his thumb and rubbing the I Love Mom tattoo on his forearm, water-soluble. He smiles as it smudges. Not real. Tattoos. He added with a shudder. Too much pain. Ahem. Stud guy clears his throat. Oh, and talking of pain, Toothless glances over at his friend as he peels off one of the studs, displaying its sticky underside. Fake, of course. He smiles. Yes. A life of awareness, that's the conscient way. Eh? Well, Mikey chuckles, I'd never have put you as one of those Vulcan tree hugging types. I mean, look at the size of you. Still, live long and prosper, he says as he tries to part his middle fingers on his raised right hand. That's vegan, not Vulcan, Toothless replies flatly, interrupting Mikey's attempt, although I have to agree that we do have many shared beliefs as both Vulcan and vegan. Conscientialism is so much more. Ain't that right, boys? He says, leaning in on Mikey, perhaps before making not funny and not accurate assumptions. You would like to educate yourself. Next, you'll be asking where I get my protein from. Straightening, he sighs. It's all on their website, conscientbeings.com. Do yourself a favor and look it up. Mikey's grin fades as he quickly drops his hand. Unfortunately, Toothless sighs, pointing to Mikey, our calling is mostly paid for by the likes of our friend here, who I might say did not give us the complete picture as to why we were hired. Yes, Mikey, let's get back to Mikey. Instinctively, Mikey takes a few steps back, straight into 2x2, and let's not talk about... Okay, but you said graphic novels. Trad repeats, graphic novels. Yes. Toothless says, making towards the car, then stopping mid-ride. It's such an honor to actually meet you, he beams at them both, starry-eyed. Likewise, I'm sure. Well, run along and get your stupid comic. Back in a tick, he smiles, fumbling for his keys, all the while turning and smiling back at his colleagues, nodding in the direction of Reg and Trad in a I told you sort of way. There are graphic novels? Trad asks Reg, as they all watch this display of obvious excitement. Deny everything. Yes, he replies reluctantly. I said, about us? More or less. Do you not hear me? And you knew? No, say no. Yes, I knew, Reg sighs. Fine, don't listen. And you didn't tell me because I didn't. Now you've done it, but why not? The colored illustrations of the front cover can be clearly seen through the white paper bag that Toothless proudly holds aloft as he returns. Oh great, he's a collector. It's a collection edition, Toothless says, clutching the bag to his chest. Only 100 in a circulation. The remaining heavies now gather around Trad and Reg, herding Mikey along with them. Yes, come on. Let's all have a look, shall we? In silence, his colleagues look from comic to Toothless and back again. Sensing their disbelief, he says, I carry it with me in hopes we might bump into them, okay? Of course you do. And jolly good job I did. Here, he says, as he carefully slides the comic out of his protective cover and gently hands it to Reg, taking great care to hold it in the flat of his hands so as to not ruffle the edges. Reg waits while motioning for a pen. I mean, who doesn't carry around a comic? Oh, Toothless pulls back to his jacket and brings out a beautiful fountain pen about fictional people. Admiring the Snookums engraving on the side, Reg smiles as he takes it. From my mother, Toothless offers by way of explanation, in the hope that they are real. Right. Reg nods as he signs and passes the comic. Mr. Regis, no, to Trad. Wow, Trad says enthusiastically, reading the title as he grabs it. The Fantastical Adventures of the Grimnamia, and taking the pen, scrawls his name under Reg's. Okay, just don't let him look, and flicking through it inside. This is really good. I had no idea, Trad says as he takes in the scenes. We know. If you please, Toothless snaps, hastily retrieving the comic and pen from Trad, smoothing the pages tenderly. He glares with contempt at him. Good, don't let him sneer it. Where did you get it? Trad asks, leaning over to get another look, oblivious to Toothless' bristling displeasure. None of your business. This is a very rare edition, Toothless states, smoothing the covers again. The return of the Amaryllis, he says with pride. In my opinion, one of the best. I beg to differ. Darkest Day was by far a superior read. It's a member-only thing, very select. The author is anonymous and sporadic. These are very hard to get a hold of, Toothless concludes. I got to get me a copy, Trad replies eagerly, still trying to see. Did you not hear the man? Here. Toothless flings open his jacket again. You cannot get them. Pulling out a well-worn comic, he thrusts it at Trad. Oh? It's my ride-along copy for when business is quiet, Toothless snaps. I have several of these. Please, feel free to wreck that one. Marvelous. Just marvelous. When you three have quite finished with your little love fest, Mikey interrupts. Oh, what do you want? The narrator says. Grabbing Mikey by his jacket lapel, Toothless lifts him up to his eye level. These fine gentlemen and I are engaging in a little tat. So, if you would be kind enough to keep your mouth shut. Sure, sorry. Take your time, Mikey stammers, as he is dropped back onto the floor. Pulling himself together, he mutters, I'll just get out of your way then. Stay, Reg says, placing his hand on Mikey's chest. Mikey stays. So, these graphic novels, Trad inquires. There's more? Mr. Regis, stop him. Oh my goodness, yes. Calmer now and happy to be talking about his pet subject, Toothless smiles at Trad. They go right back. You had a different look then, of course. Yes, yes. And of course, there were less comics, more pamphlet. Let me guess, they're in the car as well. But I virtually have the whole collection. Toothless continues proudly. Issue 47 is rare. Hardly anybody has that one. I am still on the lookout. I'll be sure to let you know if I find it. This is so great. Wait till I tell them back at base. Trad beams, looking up an open page and pointing to the illustration depicting the two boys. I'm a goddamn star, he declares. And there you have it. And why haven't I told you? Reg mutters to himself. I told you this would happen sooner or later. I said he's bound to find out, I said, the narrator says. Having returned the comic to its cover, Toothless smiles broadly and holds it to his chest. Thank you, chaps, he beams. I can hardly believe we have actually been involved in one of your adventures. Don't mention it. In fact, do us all a favor. Stop talking. Oh my, he gasps. I wonder if that means we will be in the next issue. How wonderful. He smiles dreamily before saying, anytime you need anything, and hands Reg a business card. Sure, sure. Trad mutters, not looking up from his comic, glowing at the newfound fame. Gents? Toothless addresses his associates as he turns and walks back to his car. Downing tools, the others take hands with Reg and take their leave. Bye. Be sure to have a nice day. Oi! Mikey calls after them. Where do you think you're going? I imagine he's going to go and drool over his graphic novels. Sliding the door of the people carrier back for the others to get in, Toothless looks at Mikey. My good man, did you not hear what he said? He replies, nodding to Trad. My teeth, the naples, the nappies, the drinking. He shudders, slamming the door closed. Anyway, this is not what we signed up for. Impress your friends, you said. We thought the whole. He points his finger at Mikey and circles the air. Scruffy gangster look was part of the ruse, not some seedy criminal exchange. But I've paid you. No, I think you have actually made a rather generous donation to the local animal rescue center. Oh, I think I rather like this guy, graphic novels aside. But Mikey hesitates, looking sidelong at Trad and Reg. What about me? Oh dear. Now, what is the phrase I'm looking for? Toothless wonders aloud. Oh yes, he declares. I don't give a rat's ass. As he opens the driver's door and slides in. Touché. I don't even like animals, Mikey mumbles as the three of them watch the car inch forward, then back in an attempt to extract it from between the two parked trucks. Finally, the door slides open. Stud Guy, Bandana Dude, 2x2, and T-Man get out, and with one at each corner, they proceed to lift the car clear off the parking space. Back inside, the windows slowly roll down. Tally-ho! They chorus, and very, very slowly the car pulls away. Mikey shuffles uneasily as they stare after the departing vehicle, and Trad resumes comic surfing. Mr. Regis, sir. Trad! He snaps at his brother and nudges him, nodding in Mikey's direction. What? Oh, yes, and this, he says, stuffing the comic in his pocket before turning to Mikey, is your worst nightmare. At last, back to business. Don't kid yourself. Mikey laughs nervously. I ain't scared of you. Sure, I get that. Trad smiles as he starts to walk slowly around Mikey. Don't you, Reg? I mean, we are fiction, right? Nothing to be frightened of here, he smiles. But the pain, that pain you have in your side there, he indicates Mikey's left side, is what you should be frightened of. Very frightened. I don't have no pain. Sure you do. It's been bothering you for a while now, hasn't it? Been getting steadily worse while we have been having our little chat, am I right? Now, I'm no doctor, but I'd say that would be the stomach ulcer you've been trying to ignore, which, he looks at his watch, I'd say is due to rupture in about 16 minutes and 14 seconds. Dropping his arm, he smiles at Mikey, give or take. You may be able to convince that lot with your gibberish, Mikey says, trying to ignore the dull ache in his side, but not me. I can see that, Trad nods in agreement. But you gotta admit, that pain that you haven't got, it's starting to bite, huh, Mikey? He asks, as he continues to circle him. Mikey moves uncomfortably, placing his hand on his stomach. I imagine you're feeling it, a little sick right now. Probably that heartburn is bothering you too. You see, right now your stomach lining is being eaten away by the acid, and it's burrowing, Mikey. Lowering his voice, Trad leans into him. It's burrowing its way deeper and deeper through the stomach wall. His voice gains volume as he continues, and the pressure is building and building until boom! Mikey jumps as Trad leaps back, spreading his arms and making gushing sounds. Lowering his arms, he grins. And right about then is when you are going to be asked, no, begging for our help. And you know, Reg adds, we would love to help, Mikey, but we can't do that, you see. We have this rule. Silly, really, he says, inspecting his nails. We only help the good guys, Mikey. And Mikey, you are not a good guy. Looking directly at Mikey, he continues, no, you are not, Mikey. You're a bad guy. Not big league bad guy, I admit. Smaller, annoying bad guy. Flea-like. But, you know what? You know the really bad guys, don't you, Mikey? And now, you are going to tell us, Mikey. Reg grins his best grin. So, Mikey, where have you been? Where are you going? And what is in that briefcase? Mikey's face has drained of color, and he is sweating heavily. He leans bent over, supporting himself on the skip. Reg is right, Mikey, Trad continues. If you don't tell us what we need to know, Mikey, it all ends right here. And while you're taking your last breath, I'm going to take the briefcase, Mikey. But you won't care because you'll be unconscious. The last thing on your mind will be your lovely wife, Belinda, who is no doubt waiting for you right now. But Mikey, you tell us what we want to know, and then you can go see your lovely wife, Mikey. And let me tell you, Mikey, you'll be so glad to see Belinda tonight. Mikey, that baby you so desperately wanted. He pauses. For effect. Well, tonight's the night. Bravo, Mr. Trayton. And with that, my dear friends, we have come to the end of the chapter. Tune in next time to continue with the Octunnumi. This has been Ruby, and I will see you next time.